Well, this is kind of a weird thing for me. I've never really recorded myself or made content before. I've seen a lot of people, others making gym or fitness related content. But my story is a little bit different than a normal fitness influencer who's somebody who just comes out of nowhere and just starts lifting weights and telling people what's optimal, what's not optimal, how to diet, how not to diet. That being said, the last year of my life has been a pretty wild hellscape, I should say. I was diagnosed with a rare condition called Chiari Malformation, which is essentially where your skull doesn't form properly and you don't have enough room for your brain. So the tonsils in the bottom of your brain essentially start to push down through the base of your skull towards your spine. And it causes all kinds of health and pain. Migraine headaches were the worst symptom for me that I chased for years and years and years, trying to figure out what the actual cause was, what the problem was. And to be honest, the gym is what led me to start searching for a diagnosis. I would go to the gym and do an extremely good workout and feel just amazing, like on top of the world. And then 20, 30 minutes after the workout, I'd start to feel this high pressure in my head. And I wouldn't think of anything of it. I figured I was just, pushing really hard, or say I had a good pull day or a good push day, and I just gave it everything I had. And as the years gone by, I started working out in about 2016 or so. And as the years gone by, it got a lot worse. And the last 3 years or so, I couldn't go to the gym at all. I couldn't strain, I couldn't do anything without having an insane migraine. Like, feels like your skull splitting open, vomiting, the world's ending. It's like, it was a horrible, horrible life experience for me. And I'd give it a chance, I'd give it some time. I thought maybe it's my diet, maybe it's pre-workout, maybe, the vasodilators or whatever in a pump supplement is making things just blood pressure high or whatever, and I did a bunch of research and I tried to find multiple things. It was a possibility that it could be pre-workout. So I quit taking pre-workout, went back to the gym, got back into it slowly, got my strength back up, started pushing really hard, migraines. And it was just to the point where I couldn't do it anymore. And it was pushing me over the edge to the point where I'd be at work getting migraines. And I up until this point, I run heavy equipment for a living. I traveled all over the country for work, and I loved what I did, or love what I do, whatever it is now. And I was to the point where my mental health was at an all-time low. I'm 32 years old. I didn't know what was going on. I had no one to turn to. I had been to neurologists and orthopedic doctors, and they're just telling me it's my spine, it's this, it's that, I tried everything, chiropractors, you name it. I tried to figure out what was wrong. And finally, I had a good orthopedic doctor catch it. But meanwhile, I'm working in Illinois, getting the diagnosis. My family and friends, everybody's home in Pennsylvania. I'm in Illinois all by myself working on a job. And mind you, we're working 80 plus hours a week. We worked a 105-hour week one week, and just putting my body through it, beating my body apart. And I was getting migraines back to back to back, sometimes 2 times in a row, sometimes 3 times in a row. And it was, none of it was making sense. And I was so close to just giving up. And I know that's a morbid thing to talk about, but I know a lot of guys are struggling, not just with health conditions or whatever it may be, but a lot of men, a lot of women, humans right now are struggling with mental health, and it's not talked about enough. It's not, you can't be seen as weak. You can't, you're a coward, you're this, you're that. It's hard, and people don't realize how difficult it is when you're dealing with something like that. And I was on the verge of killing myself. And the only reason I stopped myself essentially was because of my wife, and I didn't want to lose, I didn't want to live without her. I didn't want to die without her. I didn't want to think of never seeing her again. I love her to death, and that was one of the main reasons that I kept pushing. And we finally got the diagnosis, and I finally got hooked up with a neurosurgeon, and the neurosurgeon was able to get me some imaging and essentially expedite the surgery. And I had a terrible, miserable, painstaking surgery, but it saved my life. And basically why I'm doing this is I want to help. I want to help people. I want to help others, especially people that may have had the same, diagnosis. Or I know there's a lot of people out there, even though it is a rare condition, a lot of people struggle with Chiari because there's not a lot of information about it, and not a lot of people are able to advocate for themselves or are intelligent enough. Not everybody is able to scan through Reddit and TikTok and Instagram and message and contact different people. Not a lot of people are super tech savvy either, and some people are older and may have struggles with tech and, navigating the internet, which is a crazy place as it is right now, especially with the political climate and everything else that's going on. You can't comb through the media like a normal person would. And me being 32, I'm still relatively able to navigate that space pretty easy. And I was able to reach some good people that led me in the right direction, and be a part of a couple support groups on Facebook and things of that nature. But I want to document my journey back into the gym, and getting back into health and dieting and eating right, and eventually bulking. And I'd like to do a show maybe sometime, but that's the only reason I'm doing this, is to try and help others. I don't care. I'm not trying to chase any kind of influence or fame or whatever it may be. I'm not trying to be the next, not to name drop, next Sam Sulik or Larry Wheels or Trend Twins or whoever, whoever may be the big guy in the fitness space, or woman in the fitness space. But I just want to help others. I don't necessarily want this content to be fully gym related. I just come to the gym late at night and there's nobody here. It's a perfect space to talk to myself looking at a camera. So I'm gonna do some exercises, and explain the do's and don'ts, for people that may have Chiari malformation or are recovering post surgery. My surgery was December 3rd of this year, or last year, 2024. So we'll talk about my journey, and we'll talk about what I've been through, and talk about mental health, and hopefully I can help others find some sort of solace and prevent the feelings that I had, that you don't mean anything and it's never going to get better, So hopefully we can have a good series here, and maybe if one person sees it, that's all I want. If I can maybe help one person feel something other than hopelessness, and that there's a chance that things will get better, that's all I want. So, thanks. So we're going to try and do a pretty solid back day today, pull day, whatever you want to call it, mainly just back today. I've just been doing what I feel is the best for me right now, what feels the best, what gives me the best pump, because I'm super weak after being laid up for months, and I just want to gain my strength back, get a nice little pump, and feel something, you know. And after my workout, I still feel a little bit of pressure. I have a syrinx in my spine yet, which is basically a spinal cyst. And it's because I didn't have flow of that spinal fluid for years. So it'll eventually go away according to what they've, you know, the doctors and stuff have told me. But for right now, I just have to try not to overdo it and slowly try to work back in everything, get nice squeezes, feel good, not strain too hard, because, you know, the whole straining or doing a Valsalva maneuver, which is when you brace, you know, you brace with your core and your stomach and you fill up with air, you brace. They say that's one of the worst things you can do, you know, like you're having a really tough bowel movement. If you do any kind of that similar stuff in the gym or, you know, really wherever, it's gonna aggravate your symptoms, the Chiari, and, you know, even if you're post-surgery, if you are just a couple months post-surgery, or, you know, like me, I'm only a few months. So it's one of those things where you just have to gauge how you feel, and you just have to work into things slow, and it's kind of what I'm doing. It's like any injury or, you know, medical condition or whatever. So I'm just going to start out with 60 pounds on just a narrow grip row and just try to get a little bit of a pump, and then we'll work our way up to some other stuff. I just like to start off as light, you know, not as light as possible, but nice and light, and just get all those muscles activated and working. And I try to, you know, work my way up. So we'll jump up to about 90 pounds and we'll do another set here in probably 30 seconds or so. And when I was lifting really heavy, or as heavy as I could, you know, I'm a natural guy, eating right, bulking, in a calorie surplus, trying to, you know, using like, I think my best was 95 pounds for a single arm dumbbell row. I felt on top of the world, but can't do that, you know what I mean? I can't push that kind of weight right now. Hopefully eventually I can. I mean, there's nothing better than really throwing some weight around and feeling good, you know, getting a massive pump. You know, you look like a different person. It's just it's a very euphoric feeling. You know, everybody talks about the Arnold, his quote where he says he feels like he's doing the thing every time he gets a pump in the gym. And to me it's not a similar feeling, but it is a very euphoric, and it's a good feeling. It really is. I mean, it just feels good to be getting the blood flowing and doing something in the gym. I'll do another set here. So we'll rest a little bit after this set for probably a minute or so, and then we'll bump it up and we'll try and get a good working set. This is my first exercise, so I try not to try to give it a couple I guess, starter sets, or I'm not sure what the proper term for it is, but try to do a couple early sets, lighter weight, get the blood flowing, and then probably by my third set, you know, try to do a really good working set at a pretty heavy weight, and try to get to failure by like 8, maybe 10 reps, all while not straining, which is a pretty difficult task. But I was doing 120 pounds. I did 120 pounds last back day for, 8 reps, I think it was, and then 7 and then 6. It's hard because I know I have more in the tank and I know I could push harder. And I just know that it's not smart, You just have to be patient. You just have to give it time. That's the main thing, especially post-surgery. Everybody wants to just get back to their life. Everybody wants to, go right back to it. And a lot of people, they struggle. They'll get a leak, a spinal fluid leak, or they'll hurt themselves or something, So the best thing you can do post-surgery, especially Chiari Malformation surgery, if you have, it's a pretty major surgery. So if you're post-surgery, just take your time, walk, focus on cardio, focus on like really, really light stuff, like 2-pound dumbbells. I mean, just take your time because it's not worth it. I was on a restriction of 5 pounds. I couldn't lift more than 5 pounds and then 8 pounds for, I guess it was 2 months before I got cleared to go back into it. And my doctor was very adamant about me going nice and easy and slow. So if that's you, if you're gung-ho and you want to get right back into it, you've got to really rethink things and think about what you're doing. It's not worth getting hurt or having to go back in. All right, I'll do this set. We'll do 2 more sets of this, and then we're going to go do some bench, single arm, high to low lat. Try to hit that middle to low lat. And it's not easy dealing with something that's rare and there's not a whole lot of information out there about, I mean, it's one of those things where you have to kind of feel your way through it and guess about a lot of things and compare yourself to other people's experiences. I know there's a lot of people out there that deal with a lot of weird, semi-rare, pretty rare, diseases, or like me, it was a malformation, people with celiac, or, like my wife has colitis, and it's one of those things where we had to completely change our diet to work around, she can't eat a whole lot of gluten and things of that nature, and it's just a trial and error kind of thing. That's why I preach to people who have Chiari Malformation or post Chiari Malformation decompression surgery, is to just feel it out. Take your time, be easy, because you made it this far. The last thing you want to do is go back. You're doing good now. Stay there. Don't jeopardize it. You have a long life to live, And it took me a while to think about that and to process that. And it's especially when you're young, it's like you're invincible. You just want to run and run and run, and you can't do that. Especially when you I mean, I'm 32 now. And it's just one of those things where I notice that I'm older and I notice the changes, especially in recovering from things. And so you just have to be patient. That's the biggest thing. Best advice I can give is just take your time and be patient, you know. All right, we'll do one more set and then we'll do something else. Okay, so these are just a single arm lat pull down. And I like coming late at night anyways. And I just essentially use the bench to support myself. That way, just extra stability. It's just something that I saw a couple bodybuilders doing that I just kind of picked inspiration from. We're not going to do the full stack. Can't do that. We'll start out with 35. I try to do these unilaterally just because I see, especially now, I have a lot of imbalances. We'll just try to get some blood flow into these, and then we'll do a nice working set after this one. So what I can say is the best thing you can do is just do what feels the best for you. You know, I noticed, like, looking in the mirror, that one side's bigger than the other, especially my arms, my shoulders. My shoulders are really flattened out, and my lats are like, I have high lat insertions anyways, but they don't pop out, you know. So I noticed that my right one was definitely more dominant than my left, at least posing or whatever you want to say in the mirror. So I just always try to start with my left lately, try to go till failure on those working sets on my left, and then I just match those sets with my right. So I'm still working the muscle, but I'm just trying to keep it a little bit more balanced, I guess. So if I get 8 reps on this side, and that's all I can get, then I just do 8 on this side, even if I can get 9 or 10. It just makes sense to me, I suppose. So we're going to go up to 60. See if we can even do one. Hopefully. Oh yeah. Trying to get a good stretch here. it's hard for me to remember to like not hold my breath and to try and breathe through the whole set, because, you know, racing has been a big thing for me that I tried to learn, especially squatting and stuff. So it's hard to really try to be thoughtful about breathing. Last thing I want to do is build up a bunch of pressure in my head, build a bunch of spinal fluid right in this base of my skull where, you know, where they remove that part of the skull. Have all that rush there and cause a headache, which I haven't had a headache since surgery. I don't want one. And if any of you that do watch this or will be watching this have Chiari, you know what I'm talking about if you go to the gym. And if you are dealing with like muscle imbalances, or it's a new exercise that you're trying out, try to look at yourself. It's always good to look at yourself in the mirror, you know. And like on my left side, since it's my weaker side, I try to make sure that I'm really feeling that contraction. Just like on my warm-up set or my starter set, I try to feel that contraction and make sure that I'm doing the movement right before I go up and hit my working weight. It's like I started out with 35 pounds on this for one arm, and now I'm at 60. And once I get the blood flowing, I'll just only do like one warm-up set until I like, when I was lifting heavier weight, like squatting like 225, and which that was my max. I'm not like a big guy or anything, but like the heavier weight, I would always really work up. I'd do like 2 or 3 warm-up sets, make sure that everything's okay, I'm feeling good, and then I can lift the heavier weight. Because if something feels off, the last thing you want to do is try and hurt yourself or hurt something. So be mindful of that. Let's do one more. We'll do 2 more sets of these, I think. These feel great. Like with the bench, it's like the added support, you just really feel good in the lat. It just hits it so well. So you can see there, I don't nearly struggle with my right like I do my left. My left, I really have to push hard to get those last few reps. And that right, I mean, I still get I can feel a good pump right now already in my lat, but it's just one of those things where, you know, if you're dominant, whenever you're recovering, or whenever I was recovering, I reach for cups, I reach for, you know, my cane or my walker. I felt everything on my right. You know, I did everything on my right because that's my dominant hand. And of course, you know, you're already hurting and you're in a lot of pain, so you're doing everything you can for the least amount of pain. And you're not really thinking straight anyways, because you're on painkillers, or, you know, they had me on oxycodone and whatever else, and Tylenol, I think. And I take a muscle relaxer as well, which really helps. But, you know, thank God I don't have to take the oxy anymore. And I rarely take Tylenol or ibuprofen or anything, only if I really hurt or if I have like a muscle spasm, which is common with Chiari. My neck seems like it's always in like a state of just like, almost like I'm doing most muscular constantly. It's how it feels. I don't really know how else to explain it. But when you're, you know, when you're on this painkillers and whatever else recovering, or you're in the ICU or whatever, you're just so focused on what's not hurting and how to just get the walk done or get whatever done. So you use your dominant stuff a lot. So it's only natural that whenever you come out and you're back in the gym or whatever, you're gonna have imbalances. That's why I personally do a whole lot of unilateral stuff. Plus, this is like my time. Being at the gym, it just is me. You know, normally I got the headphones in. I have one in right now, but I just jam, you know. We'll talk about music after the set. Music is a very, very important thing in my life, and it really helped me through a lot of stuff. So we'll do the set and then we'll talk about some music. Come on. So like that last rep, normally I'd be able to really just brace and bear through it. But I know I can't. I gotta breathe. And hopefully eventually I can. But for now, we just do what doesn't hurt us. Try to build our bodies up the right way and feel good. So, I mean, the lats feel nice and pumped. Take a little breather here. Then we'll probably do some lat pull downs, I think. But the best thing about music or content or whatever it may be is you can resonate. You know, I watched a lot of C-Bum. I'm a big fan of Chris Bumstead. I just think he's a very humble and inspirational person. And he's like top tier. You know, he's the 0.1% of like genetic freaks. But he's had his fair, he has an autoimmune disease that he discovered, you know, and there's multiple things that he's been through throughout his career, like tearing his bicep at the Olympia, you know, the day before, just trying to get a pump, you know. He's just been through a lot of adversity. And consuming his content and understanding the way he thinks, even though he's a lot younger than me, I'm able to put that into my daily life just because of how he handles himself in those situations. And, you know, it just shows what kind of person somebody is when they can go through adversity like that and still have a good outlook and be positive and be a voice of change and reason for others, you know. Just his mentality and like how open he is with mental health and everything is just super important. And you know, there's a lot of bands. I'm really into pop punk. I have been for a long time, you know, 20 or so years. And you just have to dive into music that makes you feel something and can help you through things. You know, it's not just about listening to the hardest, you know, metalcore, metal, whatever you listen to, or the hardest rap, you know, while you're in the gym. Listen to something, and not even just in the gym, just your daily life. Just listen to something that makes you feel something and doesn't make you always feel angst or angry or depressed. You know, you don't want to consume a whole lot of depressing content or anything of that sort. It's always good to feel, but all it does for me, for example, is just makes me feel that way all the time. Especially when you're working towards getting away from that, it's the last thing you want. So just, you know, enjoy music that you enjoy, but it's always good to have a variety and listen to something that is uplifting or upbeat or, you know, makes you feel good. Because if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have made it through the summer. A lot of what helped me get through this last job that I was on and the summer was just music. And obviously watching, you know, consuming content from certain creators that are inspiring to me and make me feel like there's hope. So keep that in mind. All right, let's do some lat pull downs. We'll do one warm-up set. Set to 60. That's all right, we'll do 60. We'll just do these wide grip. It's too light. That is way too light. We'll try 120. See what that gets us. See what we can do with that. I don't know how much of this I'm going to edit out or whatever. I just hope I say some things that can help others, you know. And I don't even want to just talk about Chiari malformation or, you know, people with rare diseases or impairments or injuries or whatever. I want to talk about mental health as a whole. And there's a lot I'll probably go into later, as far as like my childhood and, you know, some other things. Maybe once I'm ready to talk about that kind of stuff. But I know there's a lot of men, especially the only reason I'm targeting or saying men is because I'm a man. And it's really, I don't have a whole lot of insight, obviously, what it's like being a woman. So, regardless, I think it helps either way, or I hope it helps either way. I mean, I just hope it helps somebody. That's all. Let's get a better tune on first. Wow, man. Might be a little too heavy, but got to push myself a little bit some way or another. But yeah, like I say, my whole goal for this is to just help others. Even if it's just one or two people, you know. I don't know how long I'll do this for. Hopefully I continue to do it. I mean, I don't see a reason not to. But, you know, it's just one of those things where I know how hard it was for me and how on the verge of just giving up I was. And I just don't want others to feel that way. You know, we can't hate each other. We can't hate everyone. We can't hate anybody based on who they are. You know, there's so much hate because of religion or gender or what you identify as or the color of your skin or what, you know, none of that matters. None of it. What matters to me is who you are as a person. And I think that's what a lot of people need to realize. And it's so important that people share their thoughts and feelings with each other, but not be so closed-minded on everything, because you can always gain a perspective from somebody. You can always gain a point of view. You know, my whole life, I was bullied. I was attacked by a dog when I was only 3 years old, and I left scars on my face, and that's why this side of my jaw is more rounded than this side. And I dealt with bullying my whole life. And only until I was an adult where I would find out that people were just saying it behind my back, you know, or questioning it more or less, I guess. But children are just so much more blatant about things, I guess. But you kind of, when you have, you know, scars or something to that effect, or, you know, maybe a burn or, you know, one of your extremities was injured, or, you know, you were born with, you know, some sort of malformation, I guess, just like my head, you know, you learn fast that it's not what a person is about by how they look or how they dress. You know, you look deeper than that because you know that you're much more than that. And I think that's more what we need in the world. You know, I think it's super important. That's why the gym isn't all just about getting big or getting swole or having a six pack either. It's about what you feel and how you feel, you know? Because you can only get as much as you're giving. So if you feel good and you feel like you got a good pump, that's all that matters. You can't compare yourself to the person next to you. That was a good set. Now I've been doing these single arm dumbbell rows before my surgery. Well, last year, I guess, early last year, I was doing like 95 pounds, or it may have been almost a year and a half ago now. But regardless, I was doing almost 95 pound single arm dumbbell. I was doing them for like 6 reps. So my form really has to improve on these. So this is why I'm light. I'm doing like 20 pounds. Just want to make sure I'm doing it right before, I push myself too hard. So I'll probably do 20 and then I'll bump up to 30. I'll try to do 30 for 8. Hopefully failing at 8-ish. Normally on these, I would use straps. Normally on most back days, back exercises, I would use straps. I don't use them now because my forearms and stuff, everything's weak. Right now I'm in a deficit. I'm trying to lose some of the weight, especially like the fat in the belly and the sides that I gained because I ate to feel comfort. So I'm in a deficit anyways, so I don't expect to be like gaining a bunch of muscle. But just trying to work my way back up, and then once I start feeling the weight more and lifting heavier and seeing a lot of gains, I'll probably add straps back into things especially once I get good my forearms. I don't want to get. The thing is your forearms and everything, and even your biceps and stuff, especially on these kind of pull days, you're implementing them whether you like it or not. And it's hard not to. So that's why I don't use straps right now, but I will in the future. If you use straps or want to use straps, use them. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think they're really good. Just me personally, for right now, I'm just trying to feel it and work my way up. That's all. My form really started to fall off there on that like 6 rep. And if you see me put my head down a lot, it's because that was like the only relief I would feel. Just because it would help. My doctor explained it to me. I would pull the cerebral tonsils up and it would help circulate some of that fluid. Not enough, but it would help the slight discomfort that I was having at the time. And then obviously once it got worse, I felt like I was just walking around with my head down at all times. So now I just do it out of habit, or if I start to feel a little bit of pressure or whatever, I just do it. I mean, I can tell I definitely have a pretty decent, especially on my lats, my lower lats, mid lat, I feel good. And I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera or not, but it's a pretty solid pump. I'm not gonna be like Sam Sulek and take my shirt off and do a pose down. Maybe eventually, if I get there. But like I said, I'm an average guy, average Joe. I weigh roughly, right now I'm 5'10", I stepped on the scale this morning, I was like 170. Right now I'm floating between like 169, 171 throughout the day. But I'm eating in like a 400 or more calorie deficit. I'm trying to eat like, my maintenance is like 2,050 calories roughly. So I've been trying to eat like 1,600 calories, maybe 1,500 if I feel good enough to do that. I just don't want to skimp out on my strength too much, but I really want to get rid of the fat and stuff and just try to feel a little bit healthier, I guess, All right, one more set of these, and then I think that's it. I'll probably do like just a machine row. I'll probably do a close grip machine row just to try to hit my lower mid back. I should probably do wide. Maybe I'll do a wide grip to hit my upper mid back, I guess. But, like I say, you just got to do stuff that makes you feel good. If you can feel the muscle, that's what you want. That's all you want right now. If you're recovering from something, or, you're trying to get back into it, or even if you're just learning or whatever, just feel it. So before I do cardio, I guess, it's almost midnight. I just hope that this maybe reaches the right people. I don't want things to like take off or, you know, whatever. I just want it to help somebody. Yeah, I'm going to try and continue to do this and, you know, just talk about like daily things and what I'm thinking and my workouts, and, you know, hopefully it'll help people with maybe mental health and, you know, recovering. That's all I want. So if this is something that helped you or you think it's going to help somebody, send it to a friend, you know. Me and my best friend Corey, you know, we're always playing games together. We're always talking about this kind of stuff, you know, how important mental health is and stuff. And, you know, just him talking to me and being a good friend almost daily, you know, has really helped me too. And he was one of the only people to come, and him and his wife were the only real visitors besides immediate family to come and see me, you know, my so-called friends. So, you know, I guess I should thank him for helping me through a lot of this and giving me the inspiration to do this as well. So, shout out to him if he sees this too.